Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of 3A Composites Third Thursday live learning series. My name is Alan Plunkett. I'm Director of Retail Design and Sustainability at 3A Composites. With us today is Hannah. I'll introduce her. She's busy behind the scenes making this whole thing go, working like crazy. So thank you, Hannah, for being here. With us as well as always is Doug Twitchell. I'll let Doug introduce himself.
Hi, Doug Twitchell with 3A Composites. I'm Director of Distributor Relations here.
And our esteemed guest today is Rob. If you're not familiar with die cutting in the United States, the go-to guy, in my opinion, in the entire country. We are so grateful to have him with us today. Rob, I'll let you introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about My Press Needs.
Hi, it's Rob Weidhaas with My Press Needs and the Crest Clamshell Die Cutter. We've been working with the Crest since 2001, so 21 years. We've started focusing on large format, point of purchase, and retail graphics, which is materials like what 3A produces, about 10 years ago. And we have an R&D lab where we do a lot of demos, R&D testing, and we did that with Alan just recently on the video you're about to see.
Great. And then I want to do a quick personal shout out to my longtime friend, Kyle Morrison. Just found out he's on with his entire group today. So Kyle, man, it's been too long since I've seen you with this pandemic, but you know, now that everybody's got a jab in their arm and things are going back to normal, look forward to seeing you, man, next time I'm out in SoCal. So what we're going to do today, we're going to do a quick 18-minute video. We thought that's the best way to present die cutting, jam as much as we can in. We're pretty confident it's going to get some sort of an Emmy or an Oscar nomination for best documentary on die cutting. So be prepared for that. But as we're going through, put any questions you have in the chat function. As we go through, we'll get to those at the end. And then after the video, real quickly, Doug and Rob are going to talk about a little bit of a part that we didn't cover in the video. And then finally, at the end, we'll get to the questions that are in the chat function throughout. And Rob and I, Rob will actually answer the questions, and I'll just nod like I know what he's talking about. But we will get to your questions at the end. So that's kind of our program today. So get the popcorn, get the soda, whatever you want, and let's all watch a documentary together. So Hannah, whenever you're ready. Does anybody else have volume?
No. I don't have volume.
You said you don't have volume?
Yeah, we did not have volume on that one. Just a little glitch.
In the Asbury Jukes, Bon Jovi,
Good.
and of course the great one and only Bruce Springsteen in Europe. Hello and welcome to another edition of 3A Composites Live Learning. My name is Alan Plunkett. I've been traveling across this entire country for the last 15 years trying to learn everything I can about wide format printing. Today we're here in Central New Jersey, a good stone's throw away from the iconic Stone Pony. If you're not familiar with the Stone Pony, it's the birthplace of rock and roll legend, the Asbury Jukes, Bon Jovi, and of course the great one and only Bruce Springsteen and the East Street Band. But today we're here at the My Press Needs Research and Development Facility to watch them cut up a bunch of 3A Composites material. So come on inside, meet my buddy Rob, and we'll have a blast learning a little bit about die cutting today. All right, here we are inside My Press Needs with my buddy Rob. Rob, we've known each other for 5, 6, 7 years. Anything die cutting in North America, this is the go-to guy. Today we're going to cut foam core. We're going to cut Gator Foam, Gator Blast, Sintra, and lastly our new DISPA paper-based material with the best in the business. And then I'll let Rob run with it from here.
Yeah, you're going to see us use multiple dies. We have 3 dies made with 3 different types of roll. We have your traditional premium ground edge roll, not serrated. We have a serrated knife with, call this our fine steak knife. It's a fine serration. And then we have our coarse steak knife, the coarse serrated knife. So with the coarse serrated knife, we're going to use this for a lot of the foam boards. The finer serrated knife we're going to use for some foam boards, and particularly thinner foam boards and paper products. And then the ground edge we can use for some thin foam, but specifically for the Sintra.
All right, so we're going to start first off with age-old tested foam core invented in 1957 by 3A Composites. Here you go, Rob.
Okay, so today we're going to cut the foam core using what I call fine serrated blade. We're using our blue soft cut pads. When you're using the serrated blade, which is preferable for a lot of the foam core products, because it gives you a nice clean edge, you cannot cut steel to steel. So we're cutting with our blue soft cut pads. We have a National 937 high ZMR blade, which is the fine steak knife. Okay, now you notice, nice cut, it's a quiet cut. And we focused on very good edge quality. So we have no flat crush, meaning that the ejection rubber didn't crush the material, the knife didn't crush the material. It's very clean inside and out. Now when you cut this steel to steel, which we will do later, oftentimes you're going to get more of a pillow-in effect, because a steel to steel knife is what we call pinch and burst. It's compressing, pinching, and then the material bursts or explodes. With the setup you see here, using a fine steak knife, I'll call it, into a urethane cutting pad, we're pinching and we're just shearing through the material. We're not compressing and bursting. That's why you don't see the compression on the material itself. And with the ZMR, you see a beautiful non-serrated edge.
Next up, we're going to cut our brand new Dispa board, 100% paper-based product, blue bin recyclable on the back end. And now Rob's going to show you how easy it is to die cut.
Okay, for this material, you can cut steel to steel or soft cut. For now, we're going to show you the soft cut, which is using that fine steak knife I mentioned earlier into our urethane cutting pad. And we'll be able to explain the difference between both cuts. Once again, it's a very quiet cut because we're not pinching and bursting. We're not getting the edge crush. It's very clean inside and out. So this is our soft cut, and we can compare this to our steel to steel cut as well.
Is that not crazy? All right, next up we have good old Gator Foam that Rob's going to put on the press.
Okay, so this material has a wood material on top of the foam. We have our fine serrated knife in the machine. Now, what we do at this lab is R&D, and I would say right now this is R&D. I think we're probably going to see some crush, which is what we aim to eliminate. So we're going to try it with our fine steak knife. If this doesn't work, then we're going to try our more aggressive steak knife, which will have even less pressure to get through the material and see what quality of a cut we can achieve. Okay, so very quiet cut, all the way through. One thing you'll notice if you're watching these videos from the foam core to the paper products, this material is I've not changed any press adjustments. That's one of the benefits of soft cut, which is serrated knife and glue pad, is it lowers the tonnage, allows you to do more. Now in this material, you can see we are getting cracking, right? So the wood is cracking around the edge. On the inside, we're not. It cracked on the waist side. So as we look at designing this, with this rule, and I don't think this is the right rule, but we could take into consideration if we wanted this improved with this rule. For example, this was the only rule we had to get this job out. We could turn the rule around, waist side opposite, and you would have a pretty nice looking part.
And some people say this can't be die cut. Next up, we have Gator Blast. You see this everywhere at retail, very popular in store. A lot of people say you cannot die cut it, but that's why we're here today with Rob. He's going to show you how well this can die cut.
Okay, on the Gator Blast, typically a foam product, we would recommend an 8-tooth, a more aggressive knife. However, we're really looking at that edge quality. So this is a thinner foam core. We're going to continue with our ZMR, which is the fine steak knife I was mentioning. the previous video. First reaction is very quiet. No crush. And I would say a beautiful edge quality. What I want you to notice is there's no serrations. So that might be counterintuitive because we're using a serrated blade. This is a special ZMR knife from National. There are others out there. Just think fine steak knife right now. But there's no serrations. So as you compare this to other cutting methods, perhaps tables, die cutting, of course, is incredibly fast. And we are getting the edge quality that I believe the industry wants in terms of no crush and quality of the edge.
That is beautiful. And this is foam core?
Okay, now we're going to die cut foam core. You may have seen the video where we cut blue. So what I'm doing is we're cutting, blue is a softer pad, orange is a harder pad. We're using a micro or a fine serrated blade. That's why we're using cutting pads. We're getting closer to the hardness of steel. So a lot of you may cut with a ground or a skived edge roll steel to steel. We're getting there. So we went from blues, call it soft, orange, we're going to call it harder, and then last we'll test this steel to steel. If you've noticed in previous videos, if you can hear it, the orange is a little louder because it's a harder surface. So the cut was a little bit louder. Cutting at 16 tons for the circle. And you can see still a nice edge and still no crush.
That's the key, no crush. Next up, we've got good old Sintra.
Okay, Sintra is typically a product where you want to heat the material itself, to relax it from cutting. Right now, we're going to cut cold. We're going to cut on the orange pad, we'll just get closer to the hardness of steel to steel. Next up will then be steel to steel cold. And then we'll also cut Sintra steel to steel with. Okay, so you can see Sintra's cut cold. You can see some serrations. Not terrible. Something you could look at. But we'll proceed now with cutting steel to steel and then steel to steel warm. Okay, so we've seen the quality of the die cut, no crush, nice edge, not a rough serrated die. So the question is, why die cut? Why not use another method like a digital cutter? The answer is speed. We're 30 to 70 times faster on average, and that has to do with how many linear inches of rule or of image needs to be cut. So on a digital cutter, it takes time. You have to slow down in arcs and radiuses and concentrate the areas. Whereas a die cut, you come up, you hit.
How amazing is that? That is 10 pieces of foam core in just over 30 seconds. We're back in Central New Jersey at the My Press Needs Research and Development Facility with my buddy Rob. We've worked on a variety of different 3A composites products, even one secret product that we're not allowed to talk about yet. But we want to let you know it's not just for simple circles, shapes that could do some more intricate designs. Here's Rob.
Yes, and in the R&D world, we have a partnership with National Steel Roll. We're developing a new roll that we really can't talk about yet either. But it gives you a very complex cut. If you notice the fingers, the eyes, the mouth in the foam board. So keep an eye out for new roll that's being developed as we speak, as we're always working to improve, eliminate edge crush, improve edge quality, and improve die cut speeds on your material.
All right, now we're back with another cut of Sintra, a different kind of cut.
Yes, we're cutting Sintra with a premium ground roll, and we're cutting against our orange pads, which is the closest to cutting steel to steel. We will cut steel to steel. The benefit of the orange pad is it protects the edge of the knife, and it reduces tonnage. Okay, so we have a nice quiet cut, and the edge is pretty good. Now, we can also work on the next cut where we'll heat the material.
Look at that. Is that sharp? Now we're going to do a steel cut with Sintra.
Okay, we're going to cut steel to steel with a premium ground roll, cutting steel to steel. Right now we have no make ready in the machine, and it's cold. Okay, so that's cold. The edge quality is actually very good. Slight radius on the side where the knife enters, which is typical. Square finish on the back.
Look at that. Now this is paper-based, 100% paper-based DISPA being cut steel to steel.
Once again, we're using a premium, and I stress premium round edge. You don't want to use a skived edge when you're cutting compressible materials like DISPA, like the foam cores, because you want that material to pierce and get into the material. The skived edge is going to, it's like a sharp butter knife. You're just going to push and squeeze, and that's when you get exaggerated flow. Okay, so we did cut this nicely with a premium round edge. So you have two methods of cutting: traditional, round edge, or soft cut.
And now we're going to die cut Sintra with the platen heater on to warm up the material.
Yes, Alan. And the idea of the platen heater is to relax the material. We find with Sintra, some companies, you included, may have done this, where you heat the material under a conveyor belt with heaters, put it on your die cutter. But it's counterintuitive, but sometimes when you heat the material, the time that you heat it, put it on a die cutter, even in summertime, that heat gets drawn out of the material almost instantaneously. Like I said, it's counterintuitive. One thing we can do is heat the platen to eliminate that. Now I'm heating the platen. You can see my hands on it. It's just warm. The idea, again, is just to relax the material. And I think we'll see that the edge quality is even better.
It's definitely the best die cut I've seen on the Sintra is with this method. And now we're going to die cut Sintra on a dual heated platen.
Yeah, we're doing pure R&D now, I would say, in that the crest, which we call our balsa press, has heat on the moving platen and heat for the die. Traditionally, it's common to heat the die. We're hoping, our intent is to be able to heat the material, relax the material, and then heat the die, have that proverbial hot knife through butter to see if it improves the edge quality, which this would then drastically improve productivity. If you put cold Sintra on a warm platen, even if we had to sit it there for a second or two, let the heat transfer, and then die cut with a heated knife. Lost my trim there, but now what I'm noticing, I'm still getting a little bit of a radius, but it's reduced. And that cut looks like a hot knife through butter.
So how fun was that? Today we cut up a lot of different 3A composite materials here at the My Press Needs Research and Development facility with Rob. Had a total blast. Thank you, Rob. And you wanted to talk about some of this?
Yeah, my pleasure, Alan. Yeah, so die cutting offers a lot of benefits. Most obvious is production speed. Today we used 3 different types of cutting knife. We used a very aggressive steak knife. This is National Super 8. This is what you would die cut your delicate materials, your thicker foam boards, anything that has a low compression where you don't want to crush it. Okay, so that's a Super 8. The ZMR is our fine steak knife. You've heard me refer to it. It's a serrated knife. We cut this as well as the Super 8 on the soft cut pad system. This is what I would call our general all-purpose knife. We can cut corrugated, cut the foam boards, we can even cut Sintra. The opportunities are almost endless with this material, but it is soft cut. And last, we have the traditional ground roll. This is a premium ground roll, which is significant. Tooling matters. You want quality knife. This roll allows you to cut much of the material, especially Sintra, cut steel to steel, or you can cut with the orange soft cut pads. But for your general application, for your existing machinery, good ground roll, steel to steel, you can cut those to these products.
Thanks to Rob and My Press Needs for allowing us here today. I learned a ton. Hope you did too, and we look forward to seeing you next month on 3A Composites Live Learning. Thank you.
All right, excellent. I guess we had some technical difficulties with people getting the audio to work right. We apologize for that, and I got a bunch of texts and emails in while I was going too that some people couldn't join. So I want everyone to know that in a couple of days or so, however fast we can get it done, we'll be making this available to everyone to email it out. So if you weren't able to connect or somebody in your organization wasn't able to connect, please share that email with them. And then, as I said earlier, Doug and Rob wanted to touch on a little factor that's unique to 3A Composites materials with die cutting that we didn't cover in the video. So Doug and Rob, when you can, Doug, you're still on mute.
There we go. Thanks, Alan. So yeah, we wanted to take just a minute here to show you one of the key features of foam core that's often overlooked and certainly underutilized. And you know, we make foam core in 2 different types of foams. We have a memory and a non-memory foam. And sometimes you'll hear this referred to as pillowing or non-pillowing. And I think that probably the easiest way to remember which foam it is memory foam has a memory. When it's crushed, it opens back up. When the non-memory foam, this is where you can get some of these interesting effects. So, you know, some of the applications where you'd want to use a memory foam are probably some of the mounted signs, printed signs when you're walking in, short-term type of thing, you know, trade show down the hall down here, those kinds of things. The quick hit, somebody just needs some information, directional information. Also preferred in the picture framing markets or for some of the signboards. So you want that foam to recover if it does get crushed. So, you know, if foam gets compressed in this material, it has a memory, and that's what our foam core with Encore technology is. But for a minute here, we just kind of wanted to focus on this non-memory foam. And you might look at that and say, well, why would anybody want a non-memory foam? If you crush it, why wouldn't you want it to open back up? But you know, this is where you can get some really interesting effects with the material, whether it's signs, POPs, promotional items, those types of things that you can get a real eye-catching dimensional type part from that. So Hannah's showing you some pictures of some of the projects that are pretty common that you would see around. So in this picture here, you can see that this picture is a good example of where the edge was compressed on this foam core and it stayed closed. So it gives you that nice, clean kind of finished look. And you know, Alan mentioned that we've been making foam core since 1957, and still today there isn't anything on the market that can compare to the foam core in being able to crush that foam and keep it closed. So it's one of the really exciting things that you can do with this product. It's not as easy as you might think to make a foam that will crush and stay closed. It has a tendency as polystyrene to open back up. So we've done a lot of work to get it to the point where it is now. And in just a minute, I'll let Rob explain kind of the mechanics to you of how it's done, how you can get this unique feature on the product. Common applications for this is going to be the closed foam edge to give you that clean look, and then you can go beyond that where you can emboss the material. And this is a good example of embossed material. So the edge around this, where it says Dr. Pepper, all that edge is sealed and closed. You've got a nice clean look there. And then if you were up close to these, to the superheroes here, the Batman and the Superman, what they've done in this one is they've embossed their abs and muscles. So you get that three-dimensional look that adds some real eye-catching, real pop to your displays. So I'll hand that over to Rob to let him explain to you the mechanics of how you can accomplish those kinds of things.
Yeah, you have a lot of flexibility when it comes to embossing the foam. You have just the ability to use a really hard, dense rubber like Green Gorilla, which is a 40 Short A durometer. That's common in die making. It's one of the harder rubbers, so it takes a lot to compress it. So that is used at times to compress the edges to get the pillowed edge. For more detail, some of the die makers and designers will design the die with creasing rule, which if you just think of a dull butter knife, we talked in the video about a sharp butter knife piercing through the material to die cut it. But the creasing rule would be the opposite of that. It would be a blunt, flat edge. It would be lower in height than the cutting rule. So if the cutting rule is 937 high, the embossing rule, the creasing rule might be 900 high. And it might even be custom, depending on the thickness of the foam. But you would have the creasing rule lower than the cutting rule, and that would give you an embossed effect. And you could burn it into the die through the laser, so you can have a very intricate pattern like you have here with the abs. Another method could be a really basic milled wood pattern in the shape of the abs, in this case, and that the press would either tape down or glue down onto the press, onto the platen most likely. And, you know, with a die cutter, you have a lot of pressure at your disposal. Large format presses are over 200 tons of force. Smaller presses are 100 tons of force. So between cutting and the pressure to be able to squeeze and form or shape is virtually unlimited.
Very cool.
All right.
Doug, anything else with that?
No, I think the only other thing I want to mention in this is that when you look at foam core, and in this picture here that Hannah has up now, you can see that that background is corrugated. And you can see the lines in the material where you don't get that look with foam core. So you can see how clean and finished the foam core looks, where compared to corrugated, it's a much nicer look.
Yeah, that skeleton show through drives visual people crazy. If the AMC or Cinemark visual people went in, they see that contrast that Doug's talking about as soon as they walk into the theater. So that's an important part. So if anybody has any questions, raise your hand in the chat or put a chat in. If nothing comes up, I'll just explain a little bit. We're going to make this on demand going forward, so look for that in your email in the next couple of days. And then we're also going to break down these each individually and put them on our website into foam core, Gator, and Sintra and Dispa, little 1 to 3 minute videos on how to breaking each of the items that Rob did down into little quick things you can just grab on your phone when you're with somebody. So those will be made available soon. And then Chris Markle made a good point in chat for the background that Doug was talking about with superheroes. Had that been Dispa instead of corrugated cardboard, there would have been no skeleton see-through on that. The unique feature of our all paper-based Dispa product. So if they had combined the foam core and our Dispa on that, it would have been a perfect visual application. And Rob, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for hosting me last week in Central New Jersey, or a couple weeks ago in Central New Jersey. I'll let you run it from here. Any last thoughts that you have, and then we'll close it out till next month.
Well, you know, there's a lot of die makers. There's the United States and Canada, and frankly the world. We have a lot of good quality die makers. We can certainly help you if you needed just some advice on what type of cut and roll to use. You know, the die makers have a lot of roll available to them. It certainly does not have to be the national roll. National is a tremendously good roll, but there's a lot of serrated knife, semi-serrated knife. Your die makers may or may not be aware of all the roll, because until my association about 8 years ago with National, I wasn't aware that there's probably 2,000 types of cut and roll on the market. You know, typically you can think of a handful. So there are specialized rolls. That's the work that we're doing in the lab to develop those rolls, to study those rolls. We've studied Sukatani from Japan, so not just National, Essman Schaefer from Germany. So if you have a exciting project in and around foam board, Sintra, and you're having difficulty cutting it, you know, get a hold of us, and I'm sure we can help you out.
Perfect. And then if anybody has any questions after the fact, Rob's email address is robw@mypressneeds.com. Then, of course, it's doug.twitchell@3acomposites.com, and I'm alan.plunkett@3acomposites.com. So feel free to shoot an email out to us. So thanks again to Rob for joining us as a special guest. Thanks to everybody for tuning in today, and we'll see you next month on our third Thursday live learning. Thank you.